All right, everyone buckle up, because we're diving deep into some serious Formula One drama today.
Oh, yeah, it's about to get intense.
We're talking about Lewis Hamilton, of course.
You know it.
Specifically, his last few races with Mercedes before he jumped ship over to Ferrari.
And from what I've been reading, things aren't exactly ending on a high note.
Definitely not the smooth sailing into the sunset you might expect for a seven-time world champ, huh?
More like a roller coaster ride with some seriously crazy turns based on this article we're looking at.
Yeah, so the big question we're tackling today is this. Will these final races be a triumphant exit for Hamilton, or are we in for a bumpy farewell tour?
Good question.
Let's break it down.
All right, so the first thing that jumps out to me is this Mercedes W15 car.
Oh yeah, that thing is.
It's like it can't make up its mind.
Is it fast? Is it slow? Like, what's going on?
Exactly. 1 minute, it's winning at Silverstone. The next, it's barely scraping by in qualifying.
I mean, remember those 4 races after the summer break?
Oh, tell me about it.
He started 14th or worse. Can you believe that?
It's wild, right? Like, how can a car be so inconsistent?
Well, the article calls it a bit of a diva,
Uh-huh. Yeah, they do.
which I kind of love. It's such a perfect way to describe it, don't you think?
It really is. Gets right to the heart of the problem.
So what's the root cause of this diva behavior then?
Well, a lot of it comes down to those ground effect regulations they introduced this season.
Oh, right, those new aero rules, yeah.
Yeah, and it seems like Mercedes, with their particular design philosophy, haven't quite cracked the code on how to make them work consistently.
So you're saying other teams have adapted better?
It seems that way, yeah.
Interesting.
And it's not just the aero regs that are causing them headaches.
What else?
Remember those crashes Hamilton had earlier in the season?
Oh, yeah, I try to forget those.
Well, they're back to haunt Mercedes in a big way. It's all about that cost cap, you see.
Oh, right, those budget restrictions.
Yeah, they've had to use older parts, repaired parts, all because of those budget constraints.
So they're basically fighting with one hand tied behind their back.
It's not looking good.
And I bet Hamilton isn't thrilled about it. From what I'm reading, he seems pretty frustrated.
Rightfully so.
In one quote, he even calls the car just bad.
Ouch, that's gotta hurt.
Yeah. Talk about a blow to the ego.
I mean, imagine being a 7-time world champion at the top of your game, and you're stuck with a car that's just not cutting it.
Yeah, and on top of that, he's already mentally checked out and focused on Ferrari.
It's like a recipe for disaster.
Makes you wonder, if he didn't have that Ferrari move lined up, would he be handling this whole situation differently?
That's a good point. Maybe he'd be pushing the team harder, trying different setups. Who knows?
Yeah, instead it's almost like he's become his lame duck driver. You know what I mean?
I see what you're saying. Like, his main concern isn't really about getting the most out of this Mercedes anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's probably more focused on making sure he's ready to hit the ground running at Ferrari.
Exactly. He's probably more focused, making sure he's ready to hit the ground running at Ferrari.
Makes sense. New team, new car. Gotta be
Yeah.
prepared. Okay, so let's talk about this Ferrari move then. Why the switch? Is it all about a fresh start, or is there something more to it?
Well, there are a few things at play here.
What have you gathered from the article?
It sounds like Ferrari represents a chance for him to reignite that competitive spark.
I see. He's achieved everything he could at Mercedes, so now it's about conquering a new challenge. Right. And just imagine if he actually manages to win a championship with Ferrari.
Whoa, that would be something else.
A team that hasn't seen victory in a while, to come in and lead them to a championship, that would be a legendary move.
It really would.
Solidify his place in history for sure.
No doubt.
But I feel like it's not just about the wins with Ferrari, is it?
It's definitely more than that.
There's that whole aura around Ferrari, right?
Absolutely.
They're more than just a team. They're an icon, a legend in motorsport.
It's like a dream come true for so many drivers to race for Ferrari.
Yeah, and it seems Hamilton is no different.
Plus, let's not forget about the teammate dynamic.
Oh, you mean Charles Leclerc?
The one and only.
Talk about a fiery pairing.
They both have that competitive edge, that fighty face, as the article calls it.
I can already picture the sparks flying.
Oh, yeah. I don't think anyone is expecting a calm and collected partnership there.
2 alpha drivers, both hungry for victory, should be interesting to watch.
It's going to be a wild ride.
Okay, so back to these final races with Mercedes. Any chance we see a resurgence, you think?
I don't know about that.
Could Hamilton pull off some more wins before he says goodbye?
Let's be realistic here. The article paints a pretty bleak picture.
Yeah, true.
Cost cap limitations, shortage of spare parts. It's all going to make things incredibly tough.
Plus, there's that unpredictable nature of the car.
It's like a wild card. You never know what you're going to get.
But couldn't that unpredictability also work in their favor?
It's possible, I suppose.
I mean, if everything aligns perfectly, who knows?
Yeah, but relying on luck isn't exactly a winning strategy.
True, true.
We've seen those flashes of brilliance from the car before, even with all the struggles.
Yeah, you never know.
But it's a long shot.
The article actually highlights the upcoming races in Las Vegas, Qatar, and Abu Dhabi as potential stages for some dramatic moments.
Oh yeah, those are some high-stakes circuits.
Plenty opportunities for overtakes and surprises.
It'll be fascinating to see how Hamilton approaches these final races.
Will he go all out for the wins, knowing it's his last hurrah with Mercedes?
Or will he play it safe, focusing on consistency and making sure the transition to his successor is smooth?
Tough call.
There are so many factors at play here.
It's like this complex puzzle. You've got the car that's constantly throwing curveballs, a driver whose mind is already somewhere else, and a team that's struggling to keep up.
It's a lot to unpack.
And yet, even with all that, there's still that glimmer of hope for some magical moments.
I guess you never really know in Formula One.
It's what keeps us coming back for more.
The thrill of the unexpected.
Exactly.
So what I'm really curious about is how this whole experience is going to shape Hamilton's mindset as he heads over to Ferrari.
I think that's a great point.
You know, what lessons is he taking away from this turbulent period?
Yeah, and how will those lessons translate to his performance next season?
That's what I want to know.
That's where things get really interesting.
Absolutely.
And I can't wait to dig into that a bit more.
Let's do it.
But first, I think we need to take a closer look at how all of this is impacting Hamilton's legacy.
Yeah, good idea.
You know, is this season just a blip on the radar, or is it something more significant?
That's a tough one.
That's what we'll be exploring next.
Sounds good to me.
Get ready to dive into the heart of Lewis Hamilton's legacy.
It's about to get deep.
And what these final races truly mean for his place in Formula One history?
Can't wait.
Stay tuned.
Buckle up.
So we've got this image of Hamilton, this champion, dealing with a car that's, well, not exactly championship material.
Yeah, not ideal.
The team's got these budget constraints. He's already got one foot out the door, headed to Ferrari. How does this season, how does it affect his legacy?
That's the question, right?
Is it just a footnote in his career?
Yeah, or is it something more?
And the article, it doesn't shy away from the fact that this hasn't been his best year.
No, not at all.
But it also makes this point that judging a driver just on their results,
Like just wins and podiums?
yeah, it's kind of limiting.
It doesn't tell the whole story.
Exactly. And this season has shown a different kind of strength from Hamilton.
Resilience, you know?
There's this quote where he says, "I'm still hoping for a car that gives me confidence and doesn't fall in and out of a good operating window."
Interesting.
That doesn't sound like a guy who's giving up, does it?
No, not at all. He's still fighting.
Even with this temperamental car,
Right.
with his teammate outperforming him.
Which has got to be tough on the ego, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, imagine that. You're Lewis Hamilton.
7-time world champion.
Exactly. And your teammate is consistently up there challenging for podiums.
Yeah, the article mentions how Russell even led part of the Brazilian Grand Prix.
Really?
Yeah, it kind of shows that Hamilton might be having more trouble adapting to these new cars compared to Russell.
Huh. I didn't think about that.
Makes you wonder.
It does. It really does. So is this Ferrari move?
Part of a bigger plan, you mean?
Yeah, does Hamilton feel like he needs to prove himself all over again?
That's an interesting theory, right?
It is, and it would make sense for a driver like him.
With his competitive drive.
Exactly. He might be looking for a new challenge.
A place where he can really push himself again.
Totally. And the article actually mentions that some people are questioning whether he'll regret this Ferrari decision.
Especially with how Ferrari has been performing lately.
Yeah, but you know what? I have this feeling, I think Hamilton thrives on proving people wrong.
Oh, for sure.
A challenge like this, I think it'll just make him even more determined.
That's Hamilton for you.
Always rising to the occasion.
What's also interesting is that the article mentions, even before this whole Ferrari thing came up, Mercedes was already thinking about their future.
Like their future without Hamilton.
It sounds that way, yeah. They were worried about his shelf life, how to manage his exit from the team.
Ouch, that's harsh.
It is a bit brutal.
Imagine being Hamilton, 7-time world champ.
The most successful driver in history.
And you realize your team's already thinking about replacing you.
That's kind of sting a bit.
It's a serious wake-up call.
No doubt about it.
Makes you think there might have been some tension there even before the Ferrari opportunity.
Yeah, definitely possible.
So back to his legacy, what we're seeing is a more a more vulnerable side of Hamilton this season.
He's not always in control. He's facing real adversity.
How do you think that changes the narrative around him?
Makes him more human, I think,
Yeah.
more relatable.
Because we put these champion athletes on such a pedestal.
They seem almost superhuman sometimes.
This season, it shows us that even the greats, they face setbacks, disappointments.
They're not invincible.
And honestly, seeing him fight through all of this,
Still pushing for those moments of brilliance.
it makes his achievements even more impressive, doesn't it?
Definitely. I mean, it's easy to win when everything's going your way.
Right, but when you're facing adversity,
That's when you see true grit.
exactly. This season proves that Hamilton's success isn't just about having the best car.
It's about his determination
His ability to adapt.
and his refusal to give up.
And those qualities, I think, are just as important as any championship title,
More important even,
especially as he gets ready for this new chapter with Ferrari.
big changes coming.
So heading into these final races, what are you watching for?
I'm curious to see how he balances his own ambitions.
With the team's goals, right?
Exactly. Will he go all out for those wins, knowing it's his last chance with Mercedes?
Or will he be more cautious
Focusing on consistency.
and a smooth handover to his successor?
It's a tough balancing act.
And beyond just the racing, I'm also interested to see how he handles the emotional side of saying goodbye.
Yeah, 12 years with one team, that's a long time.
It's like saying goodbye to family.
It's a lot of history, a lot of shared moments.
The triumphs, the challenges.
It'll be interesting to see how he acknowledges all of that.
Shows his gratitude to the team, the fans.
Yeah, it'll be emotional for sure.
It makes you wonder, could this be a see you later instead of a goodbye?
You never know with Formula One.
Anything is possible.
Stranger things have happened.
But no matter what the future holds,
These last few races, they're going to be intense
packed with drama.
and a whole lot of emotion.
So we've explored the ups and downs of this season
The impact on his legacy.
and what to expect in these last few races.
It all comes back to this question, though.
The big one, yeah.
Where does Hamilton fit in among the Formula One greats?
How will he be remembered?
That's what we'll be tackling in our final segment.
We're going deep into Lewis Hamilton's lasting impact on the sport.
This is where things get really interesting.
All right, so we've covered a lot of ground here, this crazy season, the Ferrari move, how it all impacts his legacy. But I keep circling back to this one question.
Yeah, the big one, right?
Like, where does Lewis Hamilton stand among the all-time Formula One greats?
Yeah, how will history remember him?
And this season, as tough as it's been, I think it adds a really fascinating layer to his story.
I agree.
The article even points out that this hasn't exactly been his strongest year.
No, not by a long shot.
But it also makes this point that even with a car that's been so difficult to handle,
we've still seen those flashes of brilliance, those moments where you're like, that's Lewis Hamilton.
yeah, remember that fourth place finish he pulled off in Mexico?
Yeah, incredible drive.
I mean, he wrestled that car to a position it had no business being in.
It's like that saying about how you can't judge a sailor in calm seas.
This year has been anything but calm for Hamilton.
Yeah, and yet he's still finding ways to shine, you know?
It really highlights his resilience, doesn't it?
Absolutely. This season, more than any other, it shows his grit, his adaptability.
He's not letting the car define him.
And those qualities, I think, in the long run, they'll matter just as much as those championship titles, maybe even more.
It's like we're seeing a more complete picture of Hamilton the driver now.
Not just the winning machine.
Yeah, he's human.
He deals with setbacks, with frustrations, even doubts, you know?
And I think that makes his story even more compelling, more relatable.
I agree. It adds a real depth to his legacy.
He's not just a symbol of dominance.
He's a symbol of resilience.
And that's powerful. I think that will resonate with fans long after he retires.
For sure.
So as we watch these final races play out, what are the key things you're looking for?
I'm really interested in seeing how he handles the pressure, the frustration.
Especially with the constant comparisons to Russell.
Yeah, how he navigates those challenges. I think that'll tell us a lot about his character.
About his growth as a driver.
It's almost like a final test before he starts this new chapter with Ferrari.
And knowing Hamilton, I bet he's going to approach it with that same fire That same determination that we've come to expect from him.
Oh, absolutely.
But no matter what happens in these last few races,
One thing's for sure.
Lewis Hamilton's story, it's far from over.
This isn't an ending, it's a transition.
A turning point that will definitely shape the next phase of his journey.
I can't wait to see what that next phase brings.
Me neither. And as we head into this final stretch, I think it's important to remember that we're witnessing a really pivotal moment in Formula One history.
We are.
We're watching a legend confront adversity, adapt to change.
And ultimately redefine what it means to be a champion.
Now, that's why we do this, right? That's why we keep diving deep.
Because it's in these moments of challenge and transformation that we truly understand what greatness is all about.
Well said. Well said. And until next time, everyone, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.